I'm Michael Bain, and it's Wednesday morning, time for Triggered again. As always, coming to you from the secret hidden bunker in the Rocky Mountains and Dragon House Studios. And we're finishing up our long report about the SHOT Show. We've had a lot of products over the last month or so that we saw at the 2020 SHOT Show in Las Vegas. And so what we did is gathered up everything else that I thought was interesting as I walked the floor of the SHOT Show. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but we're in the Chinese Year of the Rat. And one of the great things in Las Vegas is a lot of the casinos, the Venetian, the Bellagio especially, always celebrates Chinese New Year. Of course, this was before Kung Flu, but in any case, at Bellagio, there's a great big giant rat, except it kind of looks like a great big giant golden mouse. I don't know how that works. In any case, you probably didn't tune in here to talk about giant rats. Maybe next week. But walking the floor of the SHOT Show, it's always interesting because a lot of times there's things you're going to see that you're not necessarily going to lay your hands on for another year. So I wanted to start with B&T. I would pronounce their European name, but Inc. B&T is how they're known in the United States, and they make a whole series of very, very eclectic guns. I think if you look over the years at our SHOT Show coverage, we always go to the B&T booth, and I always request T&E ones, and I never touch them. In fact, I always wonder if they're just plastic models. But at Range Day, we proved it wasn't. Their APC, which has been a go-to weapon for them, a submachine gun, 9mm and 45. This year, they came out with an APC 10mm because we've seen the revival of the 10mm. We know it's a great round, a defensive round, so why not? I'm running it in semi-auto, but because you got 5 shots, I mean, come on. Running it in semi-auto, it was accurate, it's easy to shoot. You can see the recoil isn't there. The other thing that I really like about B&T is essentially a Glock 17/19 chassis system, the Universal Service Weapon, USW, for the Glock. And it has a folding stock, so obviously it's an SBR. It's not, if you take your Glock and you slide it into this chassis system, it becomes instantly an NFA weapon. And I always thought this was a great idea. You see there's several Glock chassis out there. They work well. And this one especially, it's small, it's easy to use, it's smart. You can also get it for a SIG 320, by the way, but 320 being modular, you can pop that cradle out and drop it into the B&T chassis. So I asked them the question that you're asking. Why can't we get this chassis system with a brace on it instead of a stock? To which they said, the ATF said no. That's why we can't get that's why we can't have nice things. But B&T always, I've already sent them a letter. I'll never hear another thing. Not so much with Mossberg. I want to head over to Mossberg. 2 primary products this year at SHOT. And essentially they're evolutionary products, they're not revolutionary products. First one is, you remember the little MC1SC, which was which was Mossberg's re-entry into the handgun business after a lot of years. Well, that was a great, super light little concealed carry 9mm. 6-round magazine, 7-round magazine, your choice. Super little gun, interesting safety right behind the trigger guard. You can have it with or without the safety. Well, like so many other people, like Glock, and their 43 to the 43X, you've seen it on SIG 365s, 365 XL. Also, all the little 9mm want to bump up. So with Mossberg, we see the SC2C for compact. Very, very like its little brother, except they shifted from plastic magazines, which I kind of really like, just to metal magazines because you can get more rounds in them. So what they did is they produced a gun only roughly half an inch longer. I think it's the difference between a 3.4-inch barrel, 3.9-inch barrel, a little bit longer in the butt region than the little brother. But you're looking at 13 rounds or an optional 15-round magazine. So essentially, Mossberg is modernizing that line because what's happened, I think, and I wouldn't swear to this, but people buy the little bitty guns and the little bitty guns can be a pain in the butt. They're hard to shoot. We've said this for years, said it on the podcast, said it on Shooting Gallery. Miniature 9mm are expert guns. You take them out to the range and they're going to bark. So people buy the little guns and then they say, boy, if I could have that a little longer, just a little bit. If I could have it where it's easy to set up for a red dot sight, if I could have a few more rounds, of course the SIG 365 changed all that. So Mossberg upgraded MC2C, 13, 15 rounds, teeny tiny bit longer in the slide and longer in the butt than the MC1. The other revision, which as I said is an evolutionary, not a revolutionary, is Mossberg took their premier 3-gun shotgun, the 930 JM, guess Jerry Miculek, upgraded it to the 940 shotgun. Why would they do that? Well, the drawback to the 930 is that it doesn't like to run dirty. The way it was designed, it just doesn't like to run dirty. And that led to maybe some bad PR there. I shot my 930 in competition for, about 3 or 4 months. And believe me, I never cleaned it. I sprayed WD-40 in it. It ran fine. But if you're going to run 1,000 rounds through the shotgun, which for a 3-gunner, it's not that big a deal. You're thinking like, wow, when's the last time I ran 1,000 rounds through my shotgun? If you're shooting 3-gun, the answer to that would be like, over the last 6 months. So there were some issues with the gun running dirty. They changed a little bit on the gas system, essentially copying some aftermarket gas system parts that have essentially solved that 330 or 930 system. So you go to the 940 JM. It's a little bit of an upgrade. It's a little bit of a cooler looking gun, by the way. They made a few cosmetic changes because Jerry Miculek is nothing if not a style setter. No, wait, that's Lena Miculek. But anyway, Jerry and Lena have run this shotgun to death, and they have a world-class idea of how the world-class shotgun should do world-class shooting. So the great thing about the 940, in the world of semi-automatic shotguns, it is a bargain, as the 930 was. One of the things I do like about SHOT Show is being able to walk around and talk to people that I haven't seen in a year or two. Todd Jarrett, one of the greatest shooters in the world, both for USPSA, for 3-gun, fill in the blank. Todd Jarrett lives in Virginia, and Todd Jarrett was among the leaders of that fight to stop the assault weapon ban, the door-to-door confiscations. So it was great to talk to Todd, but more than anything else, Todd, good on you. We'll be right back with more from SHOT 2020 and the Rat.
This week's Triggered is brought to you by Lucid Optics, on target, under budget. Franklin Armory, home of the Reformation. Honor Defense, with a brand new gun on the way. Cimarron Firearms, king of the cowboys. Lipsy's and their gun of the month. Tandem Cross, making good guns even better. And Ammo Man. What's inside your ammo can?
Welcome back to the very last of our 2020 SHOT Show coverage here on Triggered. And of course, stop by the Arms Corps booth. What you see me doing here is a live Facebook feed. So I got to song, a little bit of dance, but we already saw a lot of guns from Arms Corps, the revolvers, the aluminum framed Baby Rock. Then I went to basically Franklin Armory. They're good friends. Both Arms Corps and Franklin Armory are advertisers, of course. But I wanted to talk to Jay Jacobson about some of the things that have happened with Franklin Armory since we featured them on Shooting Gallery, which is that ATF made some really genuinely, profoundly bizarre rulings. They wrote a public letter that created a new class of firearms, which was a non-NFA short barrel shotgun to cover the Franklin Armory product with the straight rifling. So it was an interesting thing. ATF had never done it before in their history, never. And then they said to Franklin Armory, by the way, it's a non-NFA short barrel shotgun. We don't have the papers to transfer that. It's not illegal. It's not an NFA, National Firearms Act, controlled weapon, but we don't have any papers to transfer this to that, to this, to that. That issue is still up in the air. Jay Jacobson, you see me talking to here from Franklin Armory, president of Franklin Armory, a very good friend of mine, one of the 3 nicest guys in the world. They're working on it. They've had a great relationship with ATF, unlike some other companies, but Franklin Armory has worked with ATF all the way down the line. So I will let you know as soon as we have some kind of resolution on this non-NFA short barrel shotgun. Come on. Okay, Lucid Optics, you know, they're a sponsor of mine. But I had a chance to talk to Omar Avalar, Crispy. Of course, one of our wounded vets, years ago, a decade ago, in the war, hit an IED in his truck, was burned horribly. Essentially a hero, crawled back into the vehicle to man his machine gun to protect those troops that were still alive. And in the course suffered burns over 70% of his body. But even though he wasn't expected to live, he did. And not only did he live, he prospered. He became, among other things, a competitive power lifter. He also became a hunter, spent a lot of time in the fields, a target shooter, a long-range shooter, and a man who works with burned veterans, because that's pretty much a nightmare. That's why he calls himself Crispy, because he wants to walk into the room of those burned veterans and say, look at me. I have a life after all these burns. So he's also sponsored by Lucid. We started talking. He said, hey, you know, maybe we could get a trip to Africa, a plains game trip to Africa. It would be like the high point of my life. That's something we're working on. We're going to talk about my Africa guns. Remember, we did a whole show on I'm thinking of taking these guns the next time I go to Africa. We mentioned this before. Well, now I'm thinking of taking something else entirely different. It'll have 2 different Lucid optics on it. On one gun, you're going to see the small Lucid, I think L7. That's the scope. I don't remember these, you know. The best thing Lucid ever did was call their red dot sight Little Mo, because I can remember that better than almost any. Little Mo, by the way, is on one of my carry Glocks, and we'll see that in upcoming weeks. The other is the great 1-to-6 scope. It's one of the best buys for low-powered variable optic in the market. So also, you know, Kevin Creighton, he's hanging around. Kevin Creighton from Ammo Man. And also Jade Struck in the background looking very, very bald. So you see a lot of interesting people there at the Lucid booth. We went to the Holosun booth to follow up on things that I talked about on Range Day. I'm just not that familiar with Holosun, but we saw as they expand the line, you know, you're probably familiar with the 507 series, which comes in red or green. It comes with the classic dot, circle and a dot, dot in a circle, donut reticle, or a single red or green dot reticle, your choice. Has backup, some of their sites have backup solar power, so the battery will last like 1 billion years. When the Earth is just a cold cinder and Keith Richardson roams the Earth looking for leftover cigarette butts, but that site will still be working. So you're going to see an enclosed site, very much like the Aimpoint enclosed site. You're going to see like a step up on the 507 series to the 508 series. You're going to see a micro Holosun sight designed for, you know, much like the SIG small sight, much like the Shield micro, for essentially Glock 43, 43X, SIG 365 pattern guns. You may not see these as quickly as you would have, certainly as quickly as they would like, because much of Holosun's manufacturing still takes place in China. And China's closed for business right now. But they are building factory in the United States to solve that problem. But that kind of takes us through everything. You know, we also took a little time to look at the koi. I like koi. A friend of mine actually wanted to launch an urban fishing show, and one of the things he did is he fished in a friend's koi pond when the friend wasn't home. They're not friends anymore. But SHOT Show is always good. The next stop is the NRA show, which is up in the air just a little bit right now. Let's just talk about that. It's up in the air just a little bit because IWA, which is, as you know, IWA is always the European SHOT Show, and it has been canceled because of fears of the coronavirus, which I totally understand. And none of us want to be in a room where we're at risk, not just from the usual crud that all of us get from trade shows, but from something that can really lay us down pretty hard. So EWA has been canceled or postponed. They haven't set a new date. That would be the March EWA. We're going to have to see what the world looks like in April, because that's when we're going to have NRA show. And so I don't know. Certainly there's no talk at all right now of that show being canceled, but you need to pay attention. Keep your eye on the NRA website, because as the virus either shrinks or grows, that may change. The other thing I'm really excited about here is, as I mentioned to you in past weeks, we're expanding our distribution, and we're pushing really hard to expand. Our YouTube channel is up, and you can find it. It's the Triggered channel on YouTube. That's tricky, hard to remember, but you can find us on YouTube. You can certainly subscribe there. So, every week, you're going to be able to go there. You can find us on michaelbain.tv. And as of next week, you can find us on Everest.com. Now, Everest is a new site. It's a commerce site where you can buy things, you get discounts, you can sign up for a club where you get free shipping, essentially a commerce site aimed at shooting, hunting, fishing, They're also carrying new material, and among that new material they're going to be carrying are Triggered. Another advantage is, should you sign up there, is they're also carrying material from My Outdoor TV, from the Outdoor Sportsman's Group. And I have strongly urged them to get all the back episodes of both Shooting Gallery, which goes back 20 years, and The Best Defense. So as soon as those are up, I'll let you know on that. But hopefully next week we're going to have another announcement, yet another expansion of our distribution. And so we should close this out with the rat. We should close this out with the great big golden rat. I feel really sorry for the guys in China, because essentially the Chinese New Year celebrations, which are always spectacular, were shut down this year. They didn't happen. So this is our own little celebration of the Year of the Rat. I am Michael Bain. This is Triggered, and we will see you next Wednesday.